This is Coolie Mazie Paloozi. Created by akunakun and verified by Tried, this is a memory level consisting of 12 separate mazes, each ranging in difficulty for both the base gameplay and the memory on top of it. It stands as one of the more uniquely intimidating memory demons, not because of its difficulty like some of the more well-known memory extremes like Nhelv, SPL, Killbot, or even Boobawamba. No, to me this level is so intimidating because of the absolutely absurd memory this level is built upon. And because of the gargantuan pile of memory gameplay you have to sift through, this level is hard to complete. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a couple opinions from different demon trackers. The NLW spreadsheet has it in the Insane tier, the GDDP has it in the Jade tier, the GDDL has it as a tier 26, and the RDL has it at 530th overall. But I don't want this to discourage you. I went for this with a relatively low-end extreme as my hardest at the time, and made it out on the other side. While this is the most intimidating level I've ever gone for and also now the hardest thing I've ever beaten, learning the memory is the bulk of the difficulty. And that is exactly why I wanted to make this video, to help lift a portion of the burden in learning this level by telling you all you need to know to complete Coolie Mazie Paloozi. So, this first spike is fake, and you're going to want to jump up into these two blue orbs, and jump up into the spider portal up here. You're going to want to click one column after the spider portal, wait one column, and then click again, and then you're going to reach this pink orb. You're going to want to hit this pink orb very late, because the hitboxes start one space after this block. From here, you're going to wait until this column before the UFO portal. You're going to want to click here. It's a fairly open gap because both of these spikes here and here are actually fake, and the only real spike you have to worry about is this one. Once you reach this UFO portal, you're going to wait a little bit until you at least, I would say, barely graze this yellow orb. From there, you're going to want to click once, and then wait a little bit, and then click again. If you do these clicks too fast, you'll hit your head here, and then fall into this block and die. So you're going to want to space these clicks out a little bit. The click pattern should sound something like this. Now, once you are inside this sort of small corridor here, you're going to see this green orb. The intended path is that you're going to hit this green orb a little bit late and then fly up into this UFO portal and then do the next two clicks there with the blue orb and the black orb. However, because of the structuring here and how this block is only half long in terms of its actual hitbox, you can just let this go and fall, and you don't have to hit any of these orbs. You're going to want to hit this black orb a little bit late because this spike here is real. So if you click it too early, you'll die. Now, from this UFO portal, the next two columns of blocks right above you are fake. There's no hitbox there, but there are spikes directly above it that are invisible. So I like to do a quick triple click here and make it into the ship portal here. Once you're inside the ship portal, you can click this red orb into this small little section here. And then these four blocks are actually spikes turned on their sides. So you want to treat this section like a straight fly up to the cube portal. Hold into the cube portal and hit the black orb as early as possible, and then just wait for the blue orb. And then that will take you into the corridor leading into Maze 2 is where things start to step it up a little bit. We're going at a faster speed, there's a little bit more in terms of gameplay going on here, and it's a little bit longer. So, to start, you're going to want to fall down into this block here, and then jump up to this blue orb. You can basically buffer this blue orb. I don't think I've ever found a situation where buffering that has made me die to this invisible spike up here, but basically you want to click this as early as possible. Otherwise, you'll die by hitting this structuring here. When you click this blue orb, this is going to take you into a blue pad up here, where you can fall down into this ball portal. You're going to want to click this blue orb late so that you don't die to this spike here, and then you're going to want to fall into the robot portal there. From here, this jump you're going to want to take late so you don't die to the spike, and then you're going to want to hit the blue orb so you can fall into the spider portal. From here, you're going to want to do a series of 3 clicks. The first two are pretty close together and fast, and the last one is a little bit spaced out from the second click. So instead of being a triplet, the pattern is more so a 1-2-1, like this. I like to use this first column here as a indicator for when I should start the click, because it is sort of off screen when you fall into the spider portal like this. Now, after the third click, you're going to reach this ship portal. You're going to want to fall down a little bit until you reach this red orb. Don't click this too early, otherwise you'll die to this invisible spike in here, but you do want to click this somewhere on the front end, because if you hit it too late, you'll die to these spikes here. From there, you can hold up all the way through this second column here, because there's structuring there, and then you can let go a little bit before the third column and do a small click so you fall into the spider portal correctly. From there, you're going to want to click basically as soon as possible down so that you can hit this blue pad, and then you're going to want to hit this yellow orb late so that you can reach this cube portal and then jump and hit the green orb. You're going to see this jump that looks like it leads into an obvious blue orb click. Skip that and go straight through and then jump off of this block using a full jump. From there, you're going to want to jump up a little bit, hit the black orb a little bit on the front end, somewhere to the front end to middle, I would say, and you're going to fall into this wave part. Now, this wave part is actually very easy if you know what to look for. I like to use these two saw blades as a visual guide, just threading between them, and then you're going to want to fall off of this platform here. You're going to want to hold underneath this yellow pad, up 2 rows, down 1, up 1, and then that'll lead you directly into the ship portal here, where you can hold up until you reach this dash orb off screen. When you reach this dash orb, you're going to want to hold it all the way down through the cube portal to the floor, where you can then jump up and hit this blue orb. You don't want to hit this blue orb too early, otherwise you'll land on this structuring and then fall off it and die, but you do want to hit it somewhere, I would say, in the middle. Then this will send you all the way up, where you can buffer this next blue orb click from this robot portal, and then that will lead you into this small corridor where it's a couple simple robot clicks into a dash orb, which you want to let go of a little bit earlier than you might think, and then that sends you into this is probably going to be the first wall that you hit in terms of your practicing and learning. It's going at 4x speed and there is shit everywhere. It's hard to keep focus and keep track of where you're supposed to look and where the player is, and the gameplay is definitely a step up from the previous 2 mazes. To start, you're going to want to jump immediately in this blue gravity portal up just slightly so you can miss this basically invisible spike in front of this size portal. Once you reach the robot portal right after, you're going to want to click once again and then hit this blue orb behind the dual portal a little bit in the middle so that you don't die to this spike up here in the block. You're going to fly up, and when you reach this upside down gravity portal, you're going to want to jump again and then hit this black orb behind the size portal, basically with the same timing that you hit the blue orb behind the dual portal just 2 clicks earlier. This is so that you don't die here, and you're going to want to hold this click through the cube portal, and then once you reach the UFO portal, you're going to hit this pink dash orb, hold it until you reach the size portal, let go, and then hit the next dash orb that'll send you straight down. From here, it's going to stop the dash orb. You're going to hit this blue pad directly behind this dual portal, and then usually I like to use this UFO portal as a visual guide for when I should click. So when my player reaches this portal, I click and then hit this pink orb in the size portal that is right after the dash orb. From here, you're going to reach a blue orb behind a ball portal. You don't want to buffer this click, because if you hit the pink orb a little bit too low, this is going to make you die into this structuring here. But you don't want to hit this blue orb too late either, because then you'll die to this saw blade here. Now, the gap is actually somewhat fair, I would say. It's not too inconsistent, but it can be a little bit annoying at first in the learning phase. It gets consistent eventually. Now then, in this ball, you're going to want to click once you reach this dual portal. This will lead you up here into the size portal on the top end of this little square. You're going to want to click immediately so that you can get on the lower end of this ball portal, where you can then buffer this pink orb. From here, you're going to want to click this black orb inside the size portal somewhere in the middle. You don't want to click it too early, otherwise you'll die to these spikes here, and you don't want to click it too late, because you can actually end up dying to this spike over here when you miss this black orb and use the second one in the middle instead. From here, you're going to hit a blue pad off screen that will launch you to the ceiling. When you reach this mirror portal up at the top, you're going to want to click immediately so that you fall back down into this UFO portal. And then from here, you're going to hit a black orb. You want to hit this somewhat early, because if you wait too long, you're going to hit this robot portal. You're going to fall into this upside down gravity portal as the robot, and it'll mess up the whole time for the next few clicks. After this black orb, you're going to want to wait a little bit, and you're going to want to click somewhere in between this red orb and the pink orb. Usually I end up hitting the back end of this red orb, and I've never really hit the pink orb, I believe, in my runs. But when you hit this red orb, you do run the risk of clicking it too early and then hitting the ship portal too early and dying into this structure here. After this red orb, you're going to want to hit this pink dash orb behind the size portal. You're going to want to hold this all the way up to the ceiling, where you'll then let go once you hit this upright ship portal here and fall into this cube portal over here. You're going to want to hold, buffer the red orb, and then hold and buffer the blue orb after it. And then from there, you go on into Maze 4. This is probably going to be the most inconsistent part that you will have throughout the entire playthrough of this level. Not only is this maze kind of confusing with its decoration, not necessarily as much as Maze 3 was, but still fairly hard to keep track of things, it also has some awkward gameplay on top of it, with two, I would say, pretty bad choke points that didn't really get consistent until the last 2 days that I was playing this. So be prepared to be stuck here for a little bit and not really get past it for a while. To start, you're going to want to wait until you reach the very edge of this platform here. There is a very small invisible structure in here so that you can jump into this as late as you need, but usually just clicking somewhere on the back end of this last block will get you the time you need. From here, you're going to want to hold off of this block and then let go after the red orb. Then you're going to see these two mirror portals here and a red orb. Click the red orb early, click the green orb in the middle, and then click the blue orb in the middle. From there, you're going to want to hold off of the next block as well, and then reach this size portal and blue orb. Click this blue orb somewhere in the middle or later area, in which you will reach this black orb and ball portal. From here, you're going to want to do a quick set of 2 clicks like this. This will make sure that you are in the correct orientation for the UFO portal immediately after this ball portal, and if you space out these clicks too much, you'll end up falling into this UFO portal in the wrong orientation. Now, here's where we get to the first choke point of the level, this red orb click. You are going to want to hit this red orb click as early as you can without missing it. Because if you hit it even somewhere in the middle to front end, you will die to this half structuring here. This click is a very awkward timing that doesn't really get consistent until the very end of the playthrough of this level, and it sort of was a problem for me the whole way through. Now, there is a fix for this that I found where I can make the window a little bit wider, and that's by doing a double click with my spacebar. So if I do it a little bit early, if I miss the red orb and jump up a little bit, using the double click, I can then hit the red orb as well and make it into the cube portal completely. It's a little bit weird to relearn the part like this if you've already learned the red orb and have tried to get consistent at it. So I would recommend trying both of these setups from the get-go and then just going with whatever you feel is more comfortable. Now, once you reach this cube portal, you're going to want to fall down these steps into the next choke point of this part behind this little shadowy pillar of decoration, the black orb. This black orb click is kind of awkward. Not only is it a timing, you can't just click wherever in this, it's also just kind of out there. If you click too late into this black orb and hold, you'll overshoot this block that you want to land on and jump off of and just die. Oh, what? If you click it a little bit earlier than that, but still too late, you could also make it up the steps here and then die in this size portal, hitting this block here. But if you get the timing correct, you should be able to just hold this black orb click up these steps and then let go once you pass the size portal. From here, you're going to want to fall a little bit and do this pink dash orb timing. It might seem a little inconsistent at first, but it really isn't too bad. You just hold a little bit and then let go onto this block here. Now, from here, you're going to want to click onto the next section, but you don't want to click too late to where you'll hit this green orb. Otherwise, you'll fly into this ship portal and die, or if you click it early enough, you'll just fall down to the next step in the wrong gravity. What? So after you do that click, you're going to want to wait a little bit in this size portal so that you don't just hit your head on this block here. And then you're going to want to hit this yellow orb somewhere in the middle and then this black orb somewhere in the middle. And then from there, you will go into Maze 5. This one is not nearly as bad as Maze 3 or 4, but it is still a pretty learny maze, all things considered. It has some minor choke points, and we start to see the obscurity gimmick, where giant pieces of decoration in the foreground will pass over the gameplay and the player, obscuring everything. To start, you're going to want to click in this corridor so that you are upside down before you hit this speed portal here. This makes sure that you are actually rolling up onto this platform that we need to go to and not down. From here, you're going to want to do 2 quick clicks past these 2 spikes up into this ball portal up here. From there, you're going to want to click once more and then pass the first black orb and then hit the second somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit hard to tell because of this exclamation point that just passes right over you as you do the click, but it gets consistent eventually. From there, inside this UFO portal, you're going to want to do a quick triple click over this UFO portal into the robot because there are 3 invisible spikes on each of these platforms here, here, and here. Once inside this robot, there are 2 different ways you can do this next set of clicks. There is the method that most people use, like the verifier tried, where you can click up from this platform onto this one and then hit the blue orb. Or you can do the method that I used, which is you just do one full click and then buffer the blue orb. Now, my method I think is a little bit more risky than the preferred method of the verifier, because you can run the risk of dying to this structuring here. And it has happened to me more than a few times from zero. Really? And so because of that, you might want to consider using the other method of clicking on each platform and then the blue orb rather than just holding from the bottom. But once you get past that click and then hit the blue orb, you're going to want to buffer your next click for these pink orbs that are off screen. From there, you're going to want to jump into this UFO portal. Make sure you don't hold too much or too early so that you don't die to these platforms here. And then once inside the UFO portal, you're going to want to hit this black orb here and then this blue orb right after it. And while that click pattern might seem a little bit intimidating with how fast it's going right now, the hitboxes are extended a little bit past the actual orbs themselves so that the timing is a lot easier than you might think. And the click pattern sounds something like this. Past this blue orb, you're going to want to hit this red orb here somewhere in the middle, and then hit this black orb here somewhere in the middle as well. Now, after this blue pad here and into the ship portal, you're going to want to hit the red orb that is directly behind the ship portal. And even though it might seem like you can't really click this too early, you actually have a lot more leeway than you might think, considering the fact that this structure actually doesn't have a hitbox at all here. After the red orb, you're going to want to pass through this UFO portal and then hit this green orb somewhere in the middle to the back end. After that, you're going to reach this second UFO portal here and the mirror portal. Now, this click can be somewhat of a choke point, even up to the final day in which you might beat this level, because it's kind of tight. If you wait too long, you will die in the spike that is directly over this mirror portal here, and if you click too early, you'll hit the spike that is right after the UFO portal. After that, you're going to want to hit this black orb inside the spider portal and hold so that you teleport to the ceiling. From there, you're going to want to do a series of 3 clicks that are somewhat spaced out, but you want to make sure you time these correctly. And it should sound something like this. Now, once you pass through this ball portal, you're going to want to hesitate a little bit before doing your next click into this cube portal here, which will then lead into... Out of all of the mazes, this one is probably the easiest in terms of its gameplay. It's a lot of buffer clicks, and it's actually also not that bad in terms of its memory aspect too. Fairly short, not a lot of obscuring decoration, and not really too noisy. To start, you're going to fall through this ball portal. There is a slight inconsistency that I've noticed going from zero and from runs, where you might run the risk of hitting this small platform here and then rolling off onto the next platform where you're supposed to click here. Because of that, sometimes in runs, I might be able to get away with a buffer click immediately into the ball portal so that I can click this as early as possible, but because sometimes I might hit this platform, that doesn't really work out all the time and I might die. So I would say, just to stay on the safe side, wait until you pass after this platform or column and then do your click. After that, you're going to want to buffer another click, which will lead you up into this cube portal back here. When you reach the cube portal, you're going to want to click immediately and hold past your next jump into this blue orb where you're going to buffer. After that, you're going to fall down past this cube portal and into this blue gravity portal here. Because of this obscuring question mark bar that falls down across the screen, it's going to be a little hard to see where you're clicking, if even at all. So I like to use this blue gravity portal as a sort of indicator as to when I should click. So once I pass the blue gravity portal, I hold and then get the click every single time. But you don't want to hold too long so that you don't jump into this spider portal here. Once you get that click, you're going to fall down past this spider portal here and through this blue gravity portal here. After you pass that blue gravity portal, you can basically just buffer for your next click, which will be on this platform here, and then fall all the way up to this spider portal here, where you can then buffer for your next one into the black orb after it, which will then be another buffer, and then which will lead you into these 3 clicks here of the yellow orb, and then green orb. All of these can be buffers. After the green orb, you're going to fall down all the way to this sort of off-screen click here with the black orb and behind the mirror portal, sort of. You're going to want to hit this as a buffer, and then the red orb immediately after it, somewhat in the middle, so you don't die to this platform here inside the mini portal. And then you're going to want to hit this black orb as a buffer. After that, you're going to fall through this yellow gravity portal and then hit this red orb in the middle. And then you go straight into... Maze 7. This is by far the most confusing, noisy maze. You are going to get so lost inside this maze and it is going to suck. Trust me, I know. But it does get consistent after a while, and on the plus side, the gameplay inside of this maze isn't as complex as some of the other noisy mazes like Maze 3 or Maze 4. To start, you're going to want to fall down off of this block here and then hold for the next 2 jumps. After that, you're going to hit a blue pad here, fall down off of the next block, and then hold for 2 more clicks as well. After that, you're going to hit this ball portal here and fall down onto this row past the mirror portal. Now, this click can sort of be a little bit annoying because it's coming out of nowhere basically when you're so lost inside this maze, and with these 2 obscuring pieces of deco on either side of the screen, which will cut off what is coming in front of you. Because of that, as a visual indicator, after the set of 2 jumps in the beginning of this maze, I like to sort of keep my eyes on this second row here at the bottom, and that is where the next ball portal will be, so that I can use that to click here with this blue orb. Now, after that, we get to one of the choke points inside this maze, this UFO portal. You need to wait until you hit this UFO portal and then click so that you can hit this ramp here into the gravity portal. Now, this can be a little inconsistent, and it became a very bad mind block for me when I was running from 0, because you can click this too early, fall into the UFO portal in the wrong gravity too early, and then die, which was pretty annoying. And so I ended up overcompensating for it and locking that in, where I would click too late, hit this dual portal, and then die as well. Oh, very annoying, and it did take a while to finally get past this. So I would recommend that you practice this click especially and make sure it's very consistent before you start doing any runs through this maze. After you do this UFO click, you're going to get past this yellow gravity portal and reach this black orb behind the dual portal. You're going to want to click this black orb somewhere on the front end and maybe in the middle. If you click it too late, you will die to this structure block here. Oh my god! And it can be sort of considered a choke point as well, but it does get pretty consistent after a little while, granted that you don't get lost inside the maze, because I do like to actually see the click when I make it, because this one is sort of hard to do blind. After the black orb, you're going to reach this cube portal with a pink dash orb behind it. You're going to want to hold this pink dash orb until in between this next cube portal and the blue gravity portal. It's a fairly good window to use as a visual indicator for when you should let go, because if you hold too long, you'll pass by this yellow pad and it won't launch you up. After the yellow pad launches you up, you can buffer these next 2 clicks past the mini size portal here and into the blue orb here. This will send you up into a blue pad off screen and into a robot portal where you can then click this blue orb early. If you click it too late, or if you just miss the timing entirely, you'll reach this dual portal here and die. Now up here, I like to think of it as 2 separate platforms that I am jumping to. The first one starts here at this green size portal and ends at the very end of this pink size portal. That gives me a good visual indicator as to where I should jump. Somewhere in the middle of this pink size portal is where I like to hold my first robot jump onto the next platform, which starts directly above this robot portal here. And then from there, you're going to want to hold somewhere in the middle up to the corridor that will leave Maze 7 and into Maze 8 is a very interesting maze and sort of different from all of the other mazes. That being, the structuring moves. All of these moving blocks are actually things you have to keep track of. And it makes it a sort of interesting challenge to keep focused and recognize where you are supposed to go. To start, you're going to want to click from this size portal onto this moving structure here, and then do another small click into this size portal where you'll hit this black orb somewhere in the middle and hold it through this cube jump. From here, you're going to reach this blue orb. This blue orb is very important for the black orb click right after it over here. And so if you click this blue orb too early, you're going to want to wait for this black orb and hit it somewhere in the middle. But if you hit the blue orb too late, you're going to want to buffer the black orb instead. So the timing of the black orb completely depends on how you hit this blue orb. With this black orb, you want to hold it through this jump here into the ball portal. At this ball portal, you can either use the blue orb or just wait to hit the floor before you click. Either one works. Usually I use the blue orb because it's easier. After that, you're going to want to pass this yellow gravity portal and wait until you reach about midway through this corner of this block here before clicking. If you do it too early, you're going to die to this saw blade here. Oh, and that was a bad habit that I had when I learned this part, and it took a little bit to sort of break out of that and learn that I should be waiting here and then clicking. Then you're going to want to click again from this mirror portal and then one more time into this ball portal with a black orb behind it. You don't have to use this black orb necessarily if you get the clicks early enough, but I like to use the black orb every time anyways, just sort of out of safety and so that I don't run the risk of just running into this structuring or these spikes here with this black orb, you're going to want to click it somewhere in the middle, usually on the front end. And that will drop you down into the block here and into the ship portal with the black orb. You're going to want to click this black orb as early as you can. If you click it too late, you'll die to these spikes on this moving platform when it shoots up. Now, with this black orb click in the ship portal, you're going to want to hold it. You don't want to click and then fly. You're going to want to hold through the black orb click completely so that you can shoot over these small spikes here and pass the blue portal. Now, I usually like to do one more click before reaching this UFO portal with the dash orb. You can do 2 clicks if that is more comfortable for you, but I like to do 1 because it makes the spacing a little bit more even before the dash orb click in the UFO. Now, when you reach this UFO, you are going to want to click this dash orb as early as you can, because if you click it too late, you will die to this structuring here. It's going to shoot you down off screen, where you will then run into a pink dash orb after this size portal. You're going to want to click this one pretty much anywhere on it. It doesn't really matter. I haven't ever died to this click before in any way, whether that be early or late. So just make sure that you click this dash orb and hold it up to the structuring. Then you're going to want to jump through this yellow gravity portal into the UFO portal, and then you're going to want to click one more time to this blue orb. Now, when you reach this blue orb, you're going to want to do a quick double click where you click it once and then click once you reach this bottom platform here, so you don't die to this saw blade here. The click pattern should sound something like this. After that, once you reach this cube portal, you're going to want to hit the red orb behind it, somewhere on the front end to the middle. After that red orb click, you can buffer these next 2 clicks with the black orb and then the pink orb, which will then get you into the corridor leading into Maze 9. This one is where the obscuring decoration gets really, really bad. You will have these giant squares fly over your screen and obscure a lot of the clicks in this maze. This can be quite annoying when you're learning this maze. However, thankfully, the gameplay itself inside the maze is not that bad and is actually pretty easy to get the hang of and becomes very consistent very quick. To start, you're just going to want to skip past this first black orb and through this UFO portal that will be obscured by this giant square that passes by, and then hit this black orb that is right after the UFO portal and also obscured by the giant square. This click is pretty open and not really too hard, so I wouldn't worry about hitting it too late or too early. I would say just click it somewhere in the middle. After that, you're going to fall through this upside down portal into another UFO portal where there's a blue orb behind it. You want to click that, and then you will find this red orb behind this giant square obscuring everything. The method for this red orb is that I like to click twice so that I can pass over this spike here and not risk ever dying to it. I know that you usually will clear it anyways with 1 click, but it was kind of stressing me out, so I just did a double click anyways, and it's just safer, very easy, didn't really add too much difficulty to the click anyways. So I would recommend doing a double click through this red orb into the black orb here. I would say somewhere in the middle. Then you're going to pass through into this square where you'll find a ball portal with a dash orb inside of it. Hold that dash orb until you fall down onto this second slope where another giant square will obscure all of your vision. From here, there's going to be a basically blind red orb click right after this ball portal that is going to be invisible because of the square. However, if you can just get a general vibe of where your player is, it's pretty easy to just click once, switch gravity, and then buffer the red orb so that you can fly into the ship portal here. And the click pattern sounds something like this. Then in this ship part, you want to click this blue orb basically whenever, and then you're going to hit this dash orb through this ball portal down into the next level where you're going to see this pink dash orb with a size portal. You're going to want to hold this pink dash orb through the cube portal past it and then let go. Now another giant square is going to obscure everything in this part, but basically after you let go of that pink dash orb, you're going to immediately want to hold down your next 2 inputs. That is going to let you jump over this slope here and along this slope here, which will then let you buffer this blue orb and fall down. From here, you're going to want to keep track of this red orb here. Even though it's sort of a blind click and off screen because of where you just came from and the second giant square that's going to cover everything, it is kind of hard to keep track of it. However, it gets easy with enough practice, and you should be able to hit this red orb somewhere in the middle to the late end if you want to get over to this second edge. From here, you're going to cross through the UFO portal and then hit this blue orb. Make sure you hit this blue orb. There have been a few deaths that I've had in runs, thankfully not from 0, where I've missed this blue orb and then fucked up the next input because I was the wrong gravity. From here, you're going to go through this robot portal, skip this red orb, and immediately after you pass the red orb, buffer the off-screen green orb that is going to come in from the top. And then that will lead you into Maze 10. Now this is where a lot of the very difficult choke points start to come into play. 75 to 100, which is Maze 10 to 12, is the hardest part of the level in my opinion, just overall. I wouldn't necessarily say that it has the worst choke points, but it does have the hardest baseline difficulty. The memorization aspects are also kind of hard because of the large obscuring decoration that will pass through occasionally and the moving sets of portals and saw blades. So to start, you're going to be a robot here coming out from the off-screen green orb. When you reach this blue orb, you're going to want to click it early into this pink dash orb here. Hold it up until you basically reach this yellow orb where you're going to want to let go in the middle of this. A large piece of obscuring deco is going to cover up what you're about to see, but it's going to be the first major choke point of this ending, that being the wave section. You're going to do a blind wave click here up into the next area and then fall down. When you reach this size portal here, you're going to do a small click up and then fall down, and then you're going to click up into where this red orb is and then fall down again. Make sure when you are falling down into the ship portal that you don't let go too early, because if you let go too early, you can get a pretty annoying bug where you will fall into the ship portal, clip into the slope hitbox, and then shoot outwards instead of shooting down like you normally would with the wave. I died to a fucking bug. From here, you're going to hit this yellow orb behind this ship portal as another giant piece of decoration obscures everything. And you're going to hold that up past this obscuring deco until you reach this black orb at the very end of that deco with a yellow gravity portal. You're going to click this in the middle, and then that's going to shoot you up into this UFO portal at the very end onto the next level. From here, you're going to do 2 clicks. I would recommend doing the first click late, so that you miss these 2 invisible spikes here and here. And then you're going to click this black orb inside this portal and fall down onto this blue orb here, and you're going to want to click this late. From here, you're going to pass through this ball portal and hit this yellow orb. You can buffer this or click it somewhere in the middle. Just make sure you don't hit it too late, otherwise you'll miss your window and hit this slope here, falling all the way down. From here, you're going to hit this black orb as another piece of obscuring decoration comes in and covers everything. This black orb is going to shoot you down into an upside down portal, so that you can then fall up onto this slope here where you're going to hit this green orb somewhere on the front end or middle. If you hit it too late and run along this slope here, you run the risk of hitting this robot portal too high and then hitting this slope over here. I've never had it happen to me from zero, just a rare kind of death that might happen during runs, so be careful of that. Inside this robot portal, you're going to want to fall down past that yellow orb and then to this green dash orb. Now there's 2 different methods to where you can do this, where you either just do 1 full robot hold and then click the pink dash orb, or you can use the green dash orb to shoot yourself up and then let go and then click the pink dash orb. Try out both methods, see whichever one works for you. Once you hold that pink dash orb, or just do a micro click, it doesn't really matter because there's a lot of slope platforms here that'll carry you all the way up. You'll reach this black orb where you're going to click it somewhere in the middle, and then you're going to have to deal with this invisible dash orb click. It's not too hard, as long as you have a pretty good idea as to where your player is. It shouldn't be too hard to get this dash orb click fairly consistently. It isn't really a timing, just as long as you click it and hold it up to about where this platform is because of where the hitboxes are. And now, this leads you into Maze 11 is going to be probably the hardest maze you will have to deal with, both in the learning process and with the gameplay. Not only is it very difficult, it also has a lot of obscuring decoration that comes over and just hides whatever you're trying to do, and it also has some hard timings. To start, when you fall out of this structuring here, you're going to want to hit this first orb, that being a black orb, somewhere in the middle. This will shoot you down into this ship portal. From there, you're going to want to hit this red orb here, which will then shoot you up into this ship portal up here, where you then hit a green portal. From there, you're going to hit a ball portal behind this obscuring deco, and then you're going to want to buffer this pink dash orb here behind the question mark. After that, once you pass this dual portal, you're going to want to let go and then buffer your next input off of this slope. From there, you're going to hit this black orb behind the question mark somewhere in the middle so that you pass through these 2 spikes here and then fall all the way down to a cube. From here, you're going to want to click these 2 question mark orbs here, that being a green orb and then a dash orb. It can be a pretty hard timing because of how much you've just dropped, and so keeping track of it and knowing where to look is very difficult. For me personally, I like to look for this mark here and watch it as I fall so that I know where the next 2 clicks are. After you get that dash orb, you're going to want to hold it all the way up past these 3 sets of spikes here, and then reach this red orb here. You're going to want to click this somewhere in the middle or late, which then you will reach the hardest part of the level, this single wave. You're going to hold your red orb click through this wave into this blue gravity portal here, which will let you go up past this dual portal. You're going to want to let go through these 2 spikes, click up through these 2, and hold all the way up till you reach this yellow gravity portal. Then you're going to want to let go through these 2 spikes, click through these 2, and hold until you reach the ship. From here, you're going to want to let go and then hold this dash orb all the way up here between these 2 spikes until you reach the UFO portal here, and then let go, jump, and then hit the next dash orb down through the ship portal and the wave, letting go, I would say somewhere before the wave, and then clicking up and letting go into the cube portal here. Make sure you don't let go too early, otherwise you will hit the cube portal and die because of this invisible saw blade here. What? No! And now you will go into Maze 12, the final maze. This one is fairly easy compared to the last 2 mazes that we just had to go through. However, there are still some pretty bad choke points that you can encounter if you're not careful. To start, you're going to want to click before this first slope here so that you don't fall down. Ride all the way up to this green orb where then you can click this and buffer the blue orb here. Then you're going to want to hold that blue orb click through this dual portal and then click this green orb through the ball portal, click the next green orb, hold this pink dash orb here all the way up to this next pink dash orb where you're going to want to click it early so that you don't die to this small spike here right above the ship portal. Once you get into the ship portal, I usually like to click a little bit after the ship portal so that I can hold up into these slopes here, and then you can click this green orb, holding it through to this next ship portal. If you aren't careful and hold too long before you click the green orb, you will run the risk of hitting the green orb and then running along this top slope here and then dying, so do be careful of that. Usually I like to let go around somewhere over here before clicking the green orb so that I don't have the risk of dying up there. Once you hold the green orb past this ship portal here, you're going to want to let go at these slopes and let the ship fall down to this UFO portal here. Then you're going to do 1 click over this little section here, making sure that you don't do it too late so that you hit this slope here and die, or that you're too early and then die along this spike or this spike. Then you're going to want to hit this yellow orb somewhat late, hold into this dash orb all the way up until you reach this dual portal where you can then let go. After that, you're going to hit this green orb and then hold this ball portal dash orb here into this pink orb where you can then encounter the final straight fly. Now, this straight fly is very, very stressful. I won't lie. You might die to this. What I like to do is a quick triple click through it just to keep myself as straight as possible. If you do end up dying here, you're going to see this. Oh! So make sure you get the timing down for this straight fly as best you can. Really, all I can recommend is just good luck. And there you have it. I really tried my best to explain as much as possible with the pathing inside each maze, along with a lot of the nuances and choke points that I encountered personally while I was going for this level. But this is the first time I've made a video like this, and if you couldn't already tell, almost all of the actual guide was unscripted, and I had to do a lot of cutting and editing for the audio. I'm sure it was completely obvious. So if anything seemed poorly explained, drawn out, or if you have any criticism for me, please let me know in the comments so that I can hopefully improve in the future if I ever do make another guide video like this one. But it was a pretty fun project to work on, so I think I probably will for any other really hard memory extremes that I might go for next year in Memory. And speaking of which, happy memory, thank you for watching, and good luck with Coolie Mazie Paloozi.